So my point is that let John Gruden take his run to win his rings. Don't criticize him before we know the outcome. I think it's a completely silly thing, and it drives me nuts about Raider Twitter. All we do is eat each other. Like, everybody just fights about like, how slow of a news day is it that we're fighting about a third-round linebacker getting cut? Give me a break.
Yeah, but again, I'm gonna call myself cynical Raider for a while. But you go back to the Lynn Bowden trade, and it just.
Oh yeah, that guy that's not on Miami's roster anymore.
Yeah, you're probably right. I haven't looked into that, but some of these
things
on
IR or something.
We're fans, so we scratch our head at some of the decisions when we're cynical. But I believe me, I completely agree. I understand. I'm just tired of losing. I think I wrote this on Twitter.
That's where we all agree.
Yeah, I wrote it the other day. I just had a thought. I'm cynical in my old age now. I've been waiting for the Raiders to win. I'm afraid that I'm going to die soon and they're never going to get to a Super Bowl. So every decision that I see that doesn't work out, I feel like it's a mistake, and I'm getting mad, and that's what sucks about getting older in life. It's like the promise of a Super Bowl in the future. I don't see it yet so far, so I'm getting scared I'm going to die before then. So,
well, you're not going to die before then, but I will say this. I totally agree with you, and that's ultimately what needs to happen. And this is where I do hold the Raiders highly accountable for the season. Like, the idea of what they're doing with personnel and all that stuff. I think people get a little arrogant in their zealousness to criticize. But what we can fully all agree on is that we have to make the playoffs. Like, the team has to be decidedly better this year. And that's where the Raiders need to hold themselves to a high level of accountability, which I hope they do. The nightmare scenario for us this season, Mikey, is 10-7, narrowly miss the playoffs. And the narrative from the Raiders going into the offseason is, well, we improved again under John Gruden.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, really? Did you at 10-7 and didn't make a play like that? That scares the shit out of me. That I don't think is going to, I'm saying shit a lot tonight. I'm sorry. But that scares me. That is one that, because couldn't you just see that? Wouldn't that be the most Raidery thing to happen, is that we actually put in a decent record? If it were a 10-6 season back when we had 16 games, might have been a playoff spot. But now that they've added the extra game, we'll lose it and miss the freaking playoffs. That would, ugh. So anyways, we got to make the damn playoffs. That is an absolute must. I'm going to say one more thing and I'm going to shut up. I get fired up about this stuff, man. It's good to be back, Mikey. I've been getting my co-host, Uncle Mosh. I have two co-hosts, Swag Jeff and Uncle Mosh. And my Uncle Mosh makes fun of me for saying this, but I believe it's the absolute truth. I think this is the most important season in the modern day history of the Raiders. In this era of the Raiders, I think this is the most important season. I think you got legacies on the line. You got legacies on the line for Mayock, for Gruden, for Carr, Mark freaking Davis. There's a lot of legacy items that are going on here. You're talking about Gruden as a 500 football coach with 2 blips on the radar. This is going to define who he's a great personality. I love him. I'm a fan. I support him. I'm glad he's got the job, all that stuff. But now's the time, 4 years in, we got to have some results here, man. Let's go. Now is the time. I'm telling you, for this era in the first season in Vegas in front of fans, and you think about all the consequence of everything that's going on. Derek's 30 years old. Derek ain't no spring chicken, man. Let's change the narrative for the oldest quarterback not named Ryan Fitzpatrick to have not started in a playoff game. We know that it was because you got hurt, but still, that point is not wrong, and people won't shut up about it until we make the goddamn playoffs. So I think it's very, very important for the team to get there this year. Okay, now I'm done.
I was just going to say, let's try to hold some of that for the State of the Raiders coming up in a minute. We're still kind of doing the off-season moves, but no, I love that hot take. And I just wanted to say real quickly, I thought it was an insult to Tanner Muse that he was cut, and the dang public relations posted out a happy birthday tweet 4 or 5 hours after he got cut. I don't know, but that was in a little bit of distaste, and wow, that really bothered me. Apparently, they don't even know what John Gruden, the Raiders staff don't even know what the team is doing to make these decisions. That means they're not even on the same page, and that bothered me a little bit. Like if you're gonna win a Super Bowl, you got to get on the same page. I don't care if you're public relations. I don't care if you're press. You got to know when a player is cut, who was signed. You got to know what to post on Twitter. Like that's called a Super Bowl team, in my opinion. Like you get all on the same page. That pissed me off. We don't have to go into detail, but your thoughts on Carl Nassib coming out as the first active player that's gay in the NFL?
Yeah, I mean, something like that was inevitable in the NFL, and respect to him for having the guts to do that. That's the NFL, and the NFL locker room is one of the more testosterone-driven places, and where it's all about a certain. What's the word I'm looking for? I'm trying to be kind in the way I deliver this. There's a certain, not a stereotype, but like a role. You know what I mean? And the
just
idea that someone is.
Just say you love him like Derek Carr did.
Well, exactly, and that's the thing. But the masculinity and the thing where and Carl being gay isn't necessarily associated, or someone that's gay isn't associated with masculinity and like tough guy. Rah, rah, rah. And so to have
Not
that,
anymore.
that was. Well, okay, and good, and I'm glad you're saying that because I think that it was just going to be a matter of time, and I'm glad that he did, and you know what, and here's the thing, man, the Raiders are not strangers to doing things first when it comes to social movements, when it comes to all those types of things, everything from the legacy of the man shirt that I'm wearing right now of Tom Flores to to all the African American players that were drafted out of the small schools by Al Davis, all the barriers that got broken by Al Davis, this is just another one of those. So of course it will be the Raiders that have a player do this for the first time ever. So yeah,
I don't have any issues with it at all. But the only thing is, there are some theories out there because Nassib was benched a couple of times last year that he might have been a training camp cut, this season. And if he is a money man or a businessman, it is a smart decision right before the season starts to come out and say his truth, because then public relations wise, if he was on the brink, they probably can't cut him now because the whole world is watching. So he might have made himself $4 to $5 million to be on the roster just by coming out as I'll say it, gay. I hope I don't get censored.
I don't think so. Nothing wrong with it. I mean, it's what he refers to himself as. So I think.
No, I meant through channels or whatever. That's just other stuff. But yeah, there's a theory out there, that might have been the case. It's
I always
a double move.
I always question everybody, and it's and when it comes to money. So I'm with you. The NFL, there's no better example in our country than an organization that you want to know why they do things. Will just follow the almighty dollar. And so I'm with you. I'm skeptical on that kind of stuff too, about when people make decisions around these kinds of things. I'm going to trust that that's not what he was trying to do. But I'm with you though, that that's
his agent is like, hey, you're going to be cut. Trust me.
My brain starts to go there too. I'm with you, bud.
And then this is the last question about that situation. How much pressure does it add to this Raiders team to honestly showcase him? In the woke world that we have today, people are going to want to watch him play. And whether he truly is a starter or not, this adds a lot of pressure to the team to probably showcase him, at least on the Monday night game a little bit, because they're going to want that storyline of a Monday Night Football, the first gay player in the NFL. They're going to want to see him on the field. And then the other players on the team, do you think it adds pressure to them now that the cameras are on them and they're going to have to talk about it probably 4 to 10 times this season? Just what are your thoughts on all that?
I think if anything, it was probably a little strategic that they did it when they did it, when the NFL news cycle is at its slowest. I disagree with you. I don't think it's going to be a big showcasey kind of thing. And I think that would frankly be a disservice to the whole point. And you know what I mean? If they treat him like he's, a unicorn and they're like, oh, everybody look at Carl. I think that's, I think that's overswinging it a little bit. And so I don't think that's the case. And as far as the Raiders playing him more, no, I don't agree with that one single bit. I don't think that John Gruden or anybody else that's in that organization that's responsible for W's gives a crap about what this man does when he's not on the Raider clock. Like, all they care about is how good of a football player he is, and that's all they should care about. Like, and that's the only thing. For the same reasons, I don't want them to consider what he is. Just like I don't want any human being ever, let alone on a football field, to be considered for anything that has anything to do other than their personality and their ability to do what they're supposed to be doing. And then
if he doesn't play, there's about 10 reporters that are going to start asking Gruden.
Nobody. No,
I'm
you'll
afraid
see
he's
that.
going to get compared to Michael Sam so much. I'm so afraid of that.
Michael Sam was a terrible football player. I don't think he's going to get compared to Michael Sam at all.
Tanner Muse has been on like 3 different teams in the past 2 years, and he was possibly, the theory is he was going to be cut. So I don't know how good of a player Nassib is, honestly, as well.
Yeah, he's okay. I don't think he's as good as what we paid him. I think that was a bad contract. You know what I mean? I don't think that he's that as good of a player as what that money equals, but I'm not, it's not up to me to measure a man's money. So, but I don't agree. I think that Twitter might be like, oh, the Raiders benched. There might be somebody out there trying to stir something up on a social media, but I don't think you think like Jerry McDonald or Tashawn Reed or any of these guys are going to be sitting in the press conference going like, hey, did you not play Yeah, or Vic, Vic Tafer's going to go in there and go, hey, I noticed you didn't play Nassib. Is that because he's gay? Like, no, they're not going to do that.
I'm telling you, somebody from the woke Twitter or the woke reporters is going to ask that question.
Some dopey person on Twitter might, but nobody that's professional will do that.
I know. Yeah, you know how it is. All right, good takes. Real quick, your thoughts on the cuts of John Brown and Carl Joseph?
Yeah, so I think that a couple things. I think that John Brown came in with the idea that he was going to be a fourth or a fifth, come in and thought he was going to be a second or a third, found out he was going to be a fourth or a fifth, and asked for his damn release. And fine, because that was what the role the Raiders had for him. The 2 rookies were going to, or the 2 second-year guys are going to be our starters at wide receiver. So it just wasn't a lot.
Where'd the misinformation come from? Again, if he expects to be a second or a third, and he's
why do we have to assign it to misinformation? Why should it not be looked at like, look, you can come in and compete, and he thought he was going to come in and compete at a level that would displace somebody like Hunter Renfrow, and he didn't. And the Raiders stuck with their guys that they already have, and they did him a solid. He asked for his release, and they freaking cut him loose. So here's the difference. I think that when we see cuts like that, and then it go along with Carl Joseph as well, who saw a lot of playing time in a preseason, the Raiders are cutting players now that are pretty good. That's a good thing. Like, remember before we would cut players and be like, oh, thank God, that guy sucked. You know what I mean? Like, now you got guys that are serviceable, veterans in the league, depth guys that we don't really have a necessity for anymore. We don't have to start Jeff Heath anymore. You know what I mean? Like, we're climbing up the ladder in terms of talent at each roster spot. A term I used to say all the time was the Raiders used to run out of talent. People would be like, what does that mean? I'd be like, they just ran out of talent. You got like talent at whatever positions, but it doesn't go deep at all. There was no depth in the line. There was no depth at wide receiver. There was no depth at safety. There was no depth at cornerback. Well, now we have depth all around. So you see guys now that are getting cut that are pretty capable players. There's a reason that Will Compton hasn't signed yet with the Raiders.
I want to let you know that I just downloaded the audio of the phone call from Gruden giving misinformation to John Brown. Let me play it for you.
Okay, do it.
Gruden calls up John Brown. What's going on, brother? My Gruden accent's going to be really, really bad, trust me. Hey, John Brown, Smokey Brown, Buffalo Bill Brown, MVP, Pro Bowler. It's John freaking Gruden. How you doing? It's Chucky, baby. Check it out. We got an open roster spot. We got some young players at wide receiver, and, I'm doubting them. We need a veteran. We need a veteran like you come in here and show them what's up. Be a number one, baby. Be a number one. We need John Smokey Brown to be a Raider. We need a Raider that's brown. That's called Smokey Brown. This is bad, I know, but I guarantee you John Gruden called him up and gave him a phone call like that. And John Brown's like, all right, let's go. I'm going to go to Vegas. I'm going to make some money. We're going to go to Shin City. We're going to call it Win City. And we're going to win a lot of games. Then he goes, oh, you choosing that guy over me? You're choosing Brian Edwards over me? I want to be released. And then John Gruden's like, come on, man. You're talking like Khalil Mack did a couple years ago. Come on, man. What's going on, man? Brother. All right, my accent's real bad. All right. Moving along.
There you go, Mikey.
Yeah, whatever. I'm just trying to add a little comedy to the show. But I'm in preseason form, as we talked about earlier.
It's okay. You'll get there. No, I think that, they had other players showed up, man. And they look at, I don't think he sold them a bill of goods, but, when you got guys like Zay Jones, you got guys like Willie Snead, you got these other guys that are coming in and playing pretty well. And again, your top three guys are Edwards, Ruggs, and Renfro. So
Okay,
Brown was like, I'm serious. Like, where was he going to fit in? Like, at some point, we need these young guys to step up, and we'll see. We'll wait till we get the breakout players. But yeah, like the Raiders talk about draft picks needing to show up. Well, there's two of them right there, Ruggs and Edwards. They need to be playmakers for us.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I don't care what happened on training camp. I know Zay Jones looked decent this year, but he does in every preseason. Zay Jones should have been cut, in my opinion. I'm not the coach, and John Brown hopefully should have still been on the roster, but that's neither here nor there. What do you think of the signing of KJ Wright a couple of days ago?
Absolutely love it. As I mentioned earlier, the reason that he waited to when he did was to pull that vet move, missed the entirety of training camp, catch that veteran minimum still, that veteran guarantee on his contract. I think that there was a very smart play. And yeah, I mean, this is just another case of players wanting to come in and be part of what Gus Bradley does. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is another connection back to Gus Bradley in his Seattle days in the Legion of Boom. And I love it, man. KJ Wright is a hell of a player. Yeah, he's starting to age a little bit, but we're not talking about a guy that's old yet. You know what I mean? He's on the precipice of becoming that, in terms of his playing career, not as a human, but in his playing career. So I'm fired up for it, dude. Linebacker has been a position of weakness for us for a very, very long time. We've discussed it on the show numerous times that, it's been a long time since we had Robert Thomas, Thomas Howard, and Kirk Morrison, linebackers that could actually make plays. Oh, I don't know, create turnovers, intercept the football, maybe. Like, what a concept. It's been an awful long time since we had players like that. And now I think that when you look at the way that KJ Wright rounds out, sadly losing Morrow, it certainly hurt, but rounds
the young
out.
Linebacker Javin White got injured in the preseason. He was looking interesting, possibly.
And Morrow, yeah. Yeah. And so, now, but you look at it, now you got three guys that are, you got serious veterans going on there. You got serious leadership coming from your defense now with Wright, Littleton, and Quit. I always say it like this, Kwiatkowski.
They restructured Kwiatkowski's deal about a month ago to make room for the signings of KJ Wright.
Well, they had to, man. They had to start moving some puzzle pieces around, and so yeah, man, I think it's great. I'm fired up for KJ Wright. I think that again, you had an amazingly solid player, an excellent leader. That veteran presence. Like, yeah, This is kind of like Navarro Bowman signing, if you remember that one, right? It was kind of like we got that guy that's like been there, done that. You know what I mean?
It's a Raider move.
It's a Raider
classic Raider move. Right before the season starts, you bring in a veteran that might be on his downward trend, but you start him, and he plays pretty decent, better than the ones we have.
Bill Romanowski, anybody? Remember when John Gruden did that? You know what I mean? Like, that's what this kind of thing echoes a lot. Yeah, I'm with you.
So I'm excited. I'm actually happy to have some positivity or some excitement going into the season because I'm not relying on YouTube for money. Thanks to cryptocurrency. Boy, crypto's having a bad day so far, today.
Oh, God,
oh my goodness. I'm getting like my Ethereum, everything's going down. And I was like, should I do the show or should I sell? Like, what am I doing today?
Thankfully, I sold off a bunch of stuff over the weekend because it was riding pretty high. And then today the bottom fell out. I was like, whew, glad I did.
Yeah, I'm gonna do what the apes do. Hodl. Hold the
Oh,
door.
well, I still.
Door. Hold door.
That's an excellent Game of Thrones reference. Yeah, dude, and I'm still holding on most everything, but every once in a while when I see a good peak, I'll sell off a little chunk just to kind of pull back a little bit, you know.
Yeah, but thanks to YouTube or being banned, and it's not really or the money is the little bit of money I got back in the days is not really a mandate in my life right now. So I have a little bit of better feeling going into shows, and I don't feel that pressure. So that's why I'm also excited for this year, is because I kind of don't have some of that pressure leading into this season to be on YouTube, to make money, to make hot takes, and all that other stuff. So I think we're gonna have a good season. All right, let's move along to a little bit of a sensitive